Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by CoolStuffing.com, mana traders, as well as Twitch subs and Patreon supporters just like you. My name is Evan Irwin, and get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, PowrDragn.
What's up, everybody? And if you missed the pre-show, you would have found out that everybody has impeccable taste in board games on this show.
Reuben Bressler.
That was one of the most coherent and like followable pre-shows and one of the most information-packed pre-shows I think we've ever had. That's a good pre-show.
That's probably accurate.
Solid pre-show. Now, if you missed that one, patrons get access to that later for our extended version. And, of course, you can watch it live if you catch us here at 10 o'clock Eastern. We kick it off with our first pick and our code push. I want y'all to go to CoolStuffInc.com, find whatever you like, and throw it into the cart, and then use promo code MAGICMICS to get 5% off anything in the store. Singles, sealed, supplies, everything. Use the promo code MAGICMICS. You can use it more than once. You should check it out and support your favorite streamer with your suggestions at the end of the show to see who we raid tonight, thanks to our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, for who have cool stuff in stock. All right. Now, it is finally time for Modern Horizons 3. Now, this has been a pretty leaky ship, quite frankly, and Wizards has done their best to acknowledge some of those leaks. They had a whole article where they busted some stuff, and then just so happens that a lot of the previews happen to be a lot of the things that's been leaking recently, but that's okay too, because the set looks bananas, is a way to put it. The set looks incredible.
I mean, we were expecting that.
We were.
Yeah, I think that's kind of it, right? Like, I don't know. It's weird. I feel like I should be excited, but this is also kind of like, all right, nothing really surprising. This is sort of what we knew, right? What we expected. If anything, my personal excitement is downed because like more Eldrazi never really does it for me.
Right.
But hey, if you're into that, there's a lot to be had in Modern Horizons 3.
Look, I am pumped. Look, there is a revolution coming to Arena. Arena's timeless and historic formats will never be the same after this set. It is going to impact everything so much. Even just like Dismember is in the set. You know, Victimize, Not Ad Mythic is coming to the set. Like, there's a whole variety of awesome, super duper awesome cards. And we're going to talk about them, 3 each. Reuben, kick us off with the first card you want to talk about.
Yeah. So, I mean, before we even get to the cards, I do want to shout out the fourth member of our podcast, MTG Nerd Girl, who was in the hype video.
We're in the hype video.
Modern
Horizons
3. So congrats to her. Well deserved. Nobody works harder.
And thanks to Little Loaf as usual for helping us get all this stuff together.
Absolutely, yeah. So I've got a few cards that I'd like to talk about. Are we prepared to talk about some cards?
Ready.
Great. So the first card I'm going to talk about is a character in the lore that I was familiar with already because I ran a Dungeons and Dragons Magic the Gathering show. And the final season of the Broken Pact took place on Theros. And on Theros, there's a book. And in that lore book, there are some very interesting tidbits. But perhaps one of the most interesting is that in Odysseys of Theros, there are 2 other named titans other than Uro and Kroxa. And the names of those titans are, well, we have Skotha, Titan of Eternal Dusk, who doesn't have a magic card yet. But someday we will get a green-black Titan or white-black Titan of some kind. But the other one was named Phlage, Titan of Burning Wind. And the card we got is Phlage, Titan of Fire's Fury, who is extremely powerful and extremely scary. Just like the other Titans, this is a legendary creature, Elder Giant, and it's a 6/6, but when it enters the battlefield, you sacrifice it unless it escaped. And this one, like Uro, costs 3 mana. So for generic red-white, you get a legendary creature, Elder Giant, that's a 6/6. When Phlage enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless it escaped. Whenever Phlage enters the battlefield or attacks, it deals 3 damage to any target and you gain 3 life. And it has escape of red, red, white, white, and exile 5 other cards from your graveyard. So for 3 mana, you get a Lightning Helix that's reusable. And it comes with a 6/6. Gaining 3 life like Uro not playing an extra land, not drawing an extra card, instead dealing 3 damage, affecting the board slightly more. Can go face like Kroxa kind of does. Seems like an extremely powerful addition.
Yeah, there
Yeah,
was. Go ahead.
I think what people are missing on this one, when I've seen some people talk about it, is like, oh, well, escapes just go to the graveyard. It's like, no, it has an actual enters the battlefield ability. Like, it still does a
Yes.
thing before it dies,
Yeah.
which makes it playable for sure.
Yeah, the Mason Clark at Mason E Clark on Twitter. No, I'm not calling it X. Has a wonderful little 5-minute video where they talk about the design story, which this card was not originally planned. In fact, this was one of the last cards added to the set. It was
Wow.
meant to fill a hole. They were like, we need a Boros rare. And
Interesting.
yeah, and Mason was like, wait, there's the Titan cycle, and one of them
Right.
is the red-white Titan, and we could do the... And he said, and Lightning Helix for 3 mana, and like literally, the card you see is exactly what he said like at dinner when they were talking about what they do with it. And yes, you greedy people, red-white sure would be a nice cost on this unbelievably powerful card.
Right.
3 mana is still a wonderful rate. Helix in... Whether it's coming in or whether it's attacking, guys, that is really powerful. So this card is super sick, and I love that it does not feel like it's a last-minute addition to the set. You know what I'm saying? Like, it feels
Yes.
like, oh, you played
This
into
feels
a really
like
cool
a
mythic.
card. A lot of the cards in this set, like the Horizon sets in general, but especially the Modern Horizon sets, feel like love letters to Magic.
Right.
They are Magic cards made by Magic players who've played the game forever and understand the lore and the rules and the jokes and the kitsch and the shtick of the game.
Right.
And this one is it's like it's all of it, right?
Exactly.
It's Lightning Helix, which is iconic. It's a named character, which is iconic. It fits a genre of the Titans, which is iconic. Like everything comes together so perfectly with this card.
So when it comes into play, do I get to say Titan Helix you?
Ooh, or Frightening Helix, as Jay Salas was in there. Reuben, what's your second card?
Yeah, so my second card, we just had a card called Up the Beanstalk, that got banned, which, you know, it lets you draw a lot of cards when you played expensive spells, right? And so they rightfully banned it in a couple of formats, but now we have slightly more expensive, slightly less cards get this benefit. But boy, howdy, is the ceiling on this card high. We have Kozilek's Unsealing, which is a 2 generic and a blue devoid enchantment that is an uncommon from the new set. Whenever you cast a creature spell with mana value 4, 5, or 6, you create 2/0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn creature tokens with sacrifice this creature, add a Wingding, add a colorless mana. And whenever you cast a creature spell with mana value 7 or greater, draw 3 cards. So there's a lot to like about this. First of all, even if you're only playing 4s, 5s, and 6s, you're still getting a ton of value. You're still getting a lot of bodies, a lot of extra mana. And if you happen to be playing 7 drops in your deck, which very often you are, whether they're Eldrazi or not, then you get to draw 3 cards even for just 1 of those 7 drops. So there's a lot to like about this card, and there's a couple of free 7, like Not of This World is the card that comes to my mind as a like free 7 drop that would let you draw 3 cards. But even if you're just playing a Solitude or a Fury like you otherwise would be, you're still getting some tokens out of the deal.
I mean, there just happens to be right now on CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day. Use promo code MagicMikes. An entire article written by the Maverick Girl about Affinity using Kozilek's Unsealing. Mirror Enforcer, make two free dudes.
Hell
Let's
yeah.
keep going. Seems nuts, and it's a wonderful read, and you should go check it out if you have not already.
It's interesting because I actually played the card it was based on, with the Sarkhan's Unsealing.
Yes.
And this costs even less for arguably a better ability, or at least a more abusable ability, I would say. So, this card stands to be pretty interesting for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah, Kozilek's Unsealing works great with Simulacrum Synthesizer, and just kind of lets you start going completely nuts. Thought Monitor,
Mirror Enforcer,
draw 3
and
cards.
Artificer's Companion, and the 7-drop 2/2 that draws you 2 cards.
Thought Monitor.
Enforcer.
Thought Monitor is 1 blue, draw 5.
Right. And get a 2/2.
And get a 2/2 flyer.
Yeah,
And
that's
get a
awesome.
free creature out of the synthesizer. Like, oh my god, it's wild. Reuben, what's your last card?
So my last card is one. It took me a minute to be like, all right, what card do I want to talk about? That's not obvious, right? Because I want to shout something out that I think it's kind of obvious that Kozilek's Unsealing is going to at least do something. I think it's a little obvious that Phlage is flashy and splashy and big. I want to shout out something that is not, I don't think, getting any hype, and I think might have a home, and that is Revitalizing Repast. Revitalizing Repast is a uncommon instant for 1 black or 1 green mana, and it's a flip card. So you can play it as a land or you can play it as its instant. The instant of Revitalizing Repast is put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. It gains indestructible until the end of the turn. Or you can play it face down as a comes into play tapped Old Growth Grove that taps for a black or a green. And we have a cycle of these double-faced cards that come into play tapped and are 2 mana lands or hybrid spells. And this one in particular struck me as having the chance to do something in a constructed format. Because you can't get any cheaper, you can't get any more efficient, and you're doing 2 effects. Getting a +1/+1 counter and gaining indestructible in 2 different colors that usually black doesn't get +1/+1. So that's like an interesting facet to it. And oh, by the way, it is also a land in your deck. So you can sort of cheapen or lessen the percentage of lands in your starting deck, which is always useful and is more valuable than even we realized the first time that we had cards like this.
Yeah, this feels like the type of thing that some green-black aggro-y type deck might want, just as another way to just save your stuff from spot removal or something, or you're in the middle of comboing, protect a thing. I mean, the +1/+1 I think on this card is kind of just a bonus
Mm-hmm.
generally. Not that it's
Agreed.
terrible to ever get the extra power toughness, but it's really about just having the option to give something indestructible and, like you said, skimp on land and help your mana base a little bit. It's
Right.
like this is a pretty cool, simple card, but good.
I absolutely adore the whole cycle. I think it's brilliant. And I'm just now noticing that the spell half is the top half.
Yes.
The land half is the back half.
Yes.
So if you recall, there were decks that sort of abused the fact that the MDFC lands had the spell on the other side, and you just play a bunch of those and still have like spells in your deck, but everything could also just be a come and play tapped or pay 3 life just to have it
Yes.
not. So I think that's actually really cool and adds another sort of facet as to why you'd play it or not. Whenever anything could also be your land drop, like if it's a creature land, and it could also kill your opponent by beating the death. That's always great because then you can just put another thing in that slot. You don't have to put a creature because you already got one, and there were plenty of decks that showed that how powerful that was. But yeah, this whole cycle is super cool. I love what they did with it, and I hope to see more stuff like that in the future. I think it's brilliant. I love that stuff. All right, let's move here to PowrDragn's picks. What you got?
This first one's kind of simple, but I feel like this is a good example of how well or how far they're trying to push energy in Modern Horizons 3. But going with Amped Raptor, it's a colorless and a red for a 2/1 dinosaur with first strike. So reasonable. I don't think you're playing it because it's a dinosaur. It's just efficient 2/1 for 2 with first strike. But when it enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy counters. Then, well, that's if you cast it from your hand. You get to exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card, but then you may cast that card by paying an amount of energy equal to its mana value rather than paying its cost. So this is actually pretty cool as far as like building a board very quickly, recovering after sweepers, even if you just want to camp some energy, like that's fine too. It's a 2 mana 2/1 that gives you 2 more energy. So like this could fit into some decks a few different ways. And obviously, I think if you're playing limited and you're playing energy, this is going to be a great card for you. But I'll be kind of curious to see if this is the type of card that can fit in some type of aggressive energy deck, if that can even exist. This is the type of card that feels like those decks would want.
Really interesting.
So, Fire Shoe, I think it was Fire Shoes who posted this. It says, "This is real," and I'm actually literally looking at this right now, and I think it might be real.
Yeah.
If your 2 cards in your deck are Amped Raptor and Thassa's Oracle, and you mulligan to both of them, you put Thassa's Oracle on the bottom of your deck because you choose the order that the mulligan cards that you don't keep go on the bottom of your deck. That's not randomized. I actually just looked that up. So that means turn 2, you play this and pay the 2, and then you flip everything away until it's Thassa's Oracle. Oops, Thassa's, and Robert, your father's brother. I don't know. Like,
hilarious.
Seems incredible.
I mean, if you want to gamble for it, sure.
Like, I mean, I guess it's got to live a turn or whatever. No,
it's the turn you play.
Win.
Yeah.
Unless they, no,
I mean,
you just instant win.
You'll have to counter the trigger or something. I don't know, but like.
So what? Okay, what are the realistic scenarios with Amped Raptor? I think that the most attractive one is play Amped Raptor, get 2 energy, reveal another Amped Raptor, get 2 more energy, but you can't cast a third Amped Raptor. But you just get 2 2/1 first strikers and 2 energy at that point. And that's not a bad middle case scenario. Yeah. Can you play 0 cost or no casting cost spells like Living End with this? I don't think so.
Until you exile a non-land card, you may cast it by paying an amount of energy equal to its mana value.
But it doesn't have a mana value.
That's a good question.
I'm going to need some help on this one, Chad.
Yeah, I don't really know.
So if there's like a brainstorm Amped Raptor situation, maybe that's a thing.
Yeah.
Pharmacist Judge says you cannot. So you
all right.
That makes sense. There's no
I think that's okay. Yeah. But
that...
in an aggro scenario, like you just go Amped Raptor Goblin Guide or Amped Raptor.
It's Amped Raptor plus some 3/3 for 2 or something, right? Like you just get a free board advancement for nothing. Like you just get the top card.
Right, and all I'm saying is, I can go day 1 and craft one of these and one Thassa's Oracle, which is banned in Historic, by the way, which is kind of weird, but whatever. But you can still play in Timeless, and then see if you can make it work. And just see if it happens. I think it's kind of hilarious. I don't know.
I mean, but you would need Thassa's Oracle to for sure be...
In your opening hand, yes.
Yeah.
You'd have to mulligan to the 2 cards. Though you get to see a lot of cards. You know what I'm saying? Like, and if you know you put Thassa on the bottom,
I mean, I don't know.
Even if you went to 1 card, you would know that there's 2 lands on top. Sure. You know what I'm saying?
That's back when like we were messing with like Tybalt's Trickery, and everybody's like, oh, but you can do this thing on like turn 2 or whatever. It's like
got it banned too, didn't it? Like
it's
stupid.
But that thing stumbled to itself so many times. It was just like the negative play experience. I think more of why they got rid of it more than anything.
This could also be one of those experiences.
It could be. Could be.
All right. What's your second card?
My second card, this one's a little convoluted, but kind of cool because of the artwork itself is creepy. But it's Grist, Voracious Larva. It's a 1 green, 1/2 legendary insect with Death Touch. So, fine. But whenever this card or another creature enters the battlefield under your control, if it entered from your graveyard or you cast it, or actually, if it entered from the graveyard or you cast it from the graveyard, which is a relevant distinction, you may pay a green mana, and then if you do, exile Grist, return to the battlefield, transformed to the backside. And the backside is kind of crazy because it's a Planeswalker. So it turns into Grist the Plague Swarm, which has +1 to create a 1/1 black and green insect creature token, then mill 2 cards, and you put a Death Touch counter on the token if a black card was milled this way. So lots going on there, but you get to protect itself and possibly have Death Touch. -2, destroy an artifact or enchantment. -6, for each card in your graveyard, create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a 1/1 black and green insect. So yeah, if we've been looking for stuff to mill into our graveyards, to play with the new Goyf, to play with the old Goyf at this point, I mean, like, there's a lot of stuff you can do with this card. Being able to like fill your graveyard, to be able to make blockers, to have a great comeback mechanic. It's a Death Touch creature on its own, so your opponent doesn't really even want to attack into it. Like, there's just a lot going on with this card that I like.
And I would note that there are 3 loyalty on the Planeswalker on the backside. So you go to
Mm-hmm.
4 loyalty, you make a 1/1 that could possibly have Death Touch. You go to 1 loyalty and you disenchant something. So like it'll stick around after one of those 2 effects, which is nice. And then you got that super ultimate there at the end. Grist has always been a good card in modern formats, and I wish we kind of had it on the arena, but we don't.
I like this card. I think it's interesting. I like this card. I like Grist, Voracious Larva. I think it's going to be super easy to flip. Why didn't we get a flip Baby Garrick, though? That's my concern. Like, we
Because
got a
you got-
Johnny, we got Soren.
Garrick's never
Why?
been a baby, dog. He's been huge
He's
since day
never
one.
been a baby?
He's never
That's
been a
hot take.
baby.
He's never been a baby. You heard it here first, everybody.
Pharmacist Judge stands corrected. You can cast the no-cost suspend spells with Amped Raptor.
Ooh,
So,
Hell yeah.
Oh, then that adds a whole other level to the Raptor. Then
that's right.
oh, that sounds
Let's
spicy.
figure that out someday.
So yeah, there's no baby Garrick, there's no baby Tezzeret or whatever, but there is Grist, and I love the whole cycle was really interesting.
The whole cycle's great.
The whole cycle was like really weird in a good way. I don't mean in a bad way. The weird, like, you know, like some of them that I feel like they read not great, probably play awesome. You know what I mean? Because when you're in Modern Horizons territory, they generally just won't make a stinker. They'll make something weird or unique or interesting or fun. And so I expect a lot of this.
Yeah, and that's sort of what I feel about this card. Like, if I'm already doing the graveyard thing with creatures, this is a fine automatic include. Right? And because I'm going to get some value out of it. I'm probably getting a Planeswalker. It's going to get to keep filling the graveyard. And then if things go sideways, I just have a really good ultimate that's a comeback mechanic, which is great.
And I love the fact that it gives you that disenchant, which a lot of times that's going to get rid of your Ley Line of the Voids and other stupid things that give you big problems. And, you know, or in response to flip them and yada yada. But the point is, you know, you want answers to stupid enchantments and artifacts that give graveyards problems, and this is the kind of thing that gives you that answer, which is really sweet. What's your last card?
My last one's probably going to get me in trouble with the Vorthos folks because I know nothing about lore things, but it's Eledamri Korvecdal, which I'm assuming is a title. But
so Korvecdal, the Kor, the Vec, and the Dal are three peoples from Wrath.
Yeah,
remember the Wrath? 3 different, you know, tribes.
Yeah. I didn't even make that connection. That's cool. But it's a colorless green for a 3/3 legendary elf warrior. So if you got those elf commander decks, get ready to fire this guy up. And you get to look at the top card of your library at any time. You may cast creature spells from the top of your library. And you can pay 1 and tap them, tap 2 untapped creatures you control, reveal a card from your hand or the top of your library. If you reveal a creature card this way, put it on the battlefield, activate only on your turn. This guy's hella fun. If you're playing elves, this card's great.
You know, I was around when the rocks were soft. And I was around when Worldwake came out. And I was around when I spoke to R&D, and I won't name names, but I spoke to R&D at the time, and they said, what were we thinking with Stoneforge Mystic? Stoneforge Mystic enables itself. You don't need anything else to make it do its awesome thing. It enables itself by its existence. This enables itself by existing. Jesus Christ. This card is like pre-order for like $40. This card is ridiculous.
And honestly, if you're playing an elf deck, this is worth every bit of it. At least $30, but probably even $40. Because, I mean, the fact that there's times with elves, you can generate like 30 mana.
Oh, yeah.
Fairly easy.
Well,
now you can just rip stuff off the top of your library and keep dropping dudes into play all in one turn.
Like, I had to read this card. I had to read this card a couple times. It doesn't say the word elf anywhere in the text box.
You could play it in a Gruul aggro, a Celestia aggro if you want, just to have access to the top of your library.
It just says creature. You can play Craterhoof Behemoths. You can play Atalis. Like this guy, and also it's a 3/3 for 3.
Atraxa.
Right, Atraxa.
That's
oh
a good one.
Atraxa. You can just play. It's a 3/3 for 3 that is a experimental frenzy, and is also an Elvish Piper, just like somehow. Which,
and you know what's fun about this too? You can set stuff up with like Curse Scroll or not Curse Scroll, Scroll Rack if you want to, right?
For sure.
You can be like, I'm gonna put one of these monsters on top, and then I'm just gonna get it for free next turn. like what?
Yeah, it's activated only during your turn. You can still do it at instant speed on your turn in response to anything during your upkeep. I love this whole card is freaking bananas.
I love it.
This card is nuts. And I love the Korvecdal thing. There was the core, the Onvec, and the Doll. Dude, that's a whole lore win there. And just again, it's just one of those things. I'm just like, I remember them specifically saying we should never do this. And this
is the type of card I look at. It's like it's going to be an expensive card forever because it's an elf that does stupid things, and anybody playing an elf deck wants it. That's not counting if people figure out how to do something good in just a regular aggro deck that wants it.
And just a constructed deck doing something
Yeah.
stupid. And that's the brilliant part is that this is awesome for Commander. So at the literal floor is it's going to be a Commander All-Star. Like, okay, like, great. So those are.
Give me one of those in limited. Like, let me get one of these in sealed.
I know, right? So, I gotta tell you, and I was surprised by this. Swan Song, not the cheapest card in the world. It's going like $11-12+ I think it is per, and up to $20 depending on if you're Secret Larian or whatever. But and it's not necessarily because of its constructed prowess. There's some Swan Song being played, I think, in some sideboards, but mainly it's a Commander All-Star. I think we might see different here with the Strix Serenade. This is a 1 blue mana rare instant, counter target artifact, creature, or planeswalker spell. Its controller creates a 2/2 blue bird creature token with flying. First of all, Swan Songing a Strix Serenade has got to be on somebody's bucket list somewhere, because that's just kind of hilarious.
I love that. That's an achievement for 500 gold.
Absolutely. But for 1 blue mana, target artifact, creature, or planeswalker, those are very relevant card types that are super powerful and important at a lot of phases of the game. And I will absolutely give you a flying bird than a giant Liliana or whatever, or a Traxa, whatever stupid thing you happen to be doing for just 1 blue mana. This is super good. I don't know how else to say that. That seems super rad.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, Swan Song also sees a bunch of play in Legacy and Vintage. One mana counter spells that aren't taxing. They're just you counter it. Like, sure, have a bird, whatever. This one is going to be significantly better in the younger formats also, and this one will be good in limited also, right? Just counter your 6-drop 6/6 or whatever,
right?
And turn it into a bird. So yeah, this one was very close to my list as well. And I love the Nils Hom art in the borderless version.
Yeah, this just feels like it's going to be an annoying card. I mean, the fact that this feels very main deckable just because you can counter creatures and planeswalkers. Like, for 1 mana, like why not?
Nils Hom, I think it is.
That's what I said.
Yeah, Nils Hom to do both this and the original Baleful Strix, which is fantastic. I got the alternate art.
That's a good shout. Nice.
Yeah, got the alternate art here on the screen. It's absolutely gorgeous. And yeah, I just think the card's super rad. Worst case scenario, your commander's a bird, right? Like, whatever. It's cool. Moving on here to the next one. This is, they like to do pernicious deeds from time to time, and this is one hell of a pernicious deed. Wrath of the Skies is 2 white and X for a rare sorcery. You get X energy counters, then you may pay any amount of energy. Destroy each artifact, creature, and enchantment with mana value less than or equal to the amount of energy you paid this way. So in the old formats, it's 2 white, destroy all your stupid moxes. And the bigger the format is, the higher X is going to go.
That's funny.
If nothing else, giving you a bunch of energy because you want energy in the energy deck. It's giving you all the tools to keep your stuff alive and kill their stuff, and or answer a ton of annoying permanents.
Right. This is also destroy all the tokens.
Yep.
That I just realized. So they've printed another 2 mana destroy all tokens.
And an interesting thing about this too is you could still have X be 0, but use existing energy. Right? If I'm reading this correctly? Yeah, because it says then you pay an amount of energy. So you could just have 2 white, but you've already stacked up 6-7 energy. And now you can still take the rest of your turn to do other things. So you might wipe the board, and then go ahead and play a couple things out.
Weird.
I've made energy. 2 white only. Pay some energy. Don't pay the X.
That's so strange. So you do still pay X.
Well, you pay X if you want to generate energy.
Right.
X just generates energy.
Yeah.
Right.
Then you spend however much energy you have around to remove that many things, or that cost of things.
What a weirdo.
Oh man.
Yeah. This is kind of like. There's going to be some wild decks probably playing this card.
Yeah, what Wizards has done to energy is super cool. I mean, this is one of those, like, I hope to God it's not broken, but B, I also hope to God that it's somewhat competitive, because I think it's awesome to have something on a whole different axis. This is very similar to Dredge. You know what I mean? Like, you're playing Magic, but just in a really kind of weird way. You're playing with resources that your opponent doesn't even matter or care about. And that's a really cool way to play Magic. And when it's busted, it sucks. But when it's really cool, it's really cool. All right, so moving on here to my last one. This is, you have the Elemental Pitch cycle, which was awesome and cool. And there was the Force cycle in the OG Modern Horizons. And now we've got the Flare cycle. And the Flare cycle entry that kind of scares me the most in terms of, oh God, it's the third one, or the last one rather I saw today, which was Flare of Cultivation. It is 2 green and a generic mana for a rare sorcery. You may sacrifice a non-token green creature rather than pay the spell's mana cost. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Reveal those cards, put one onto the battlefield tapped and the other into your hand, then shuffle. So it is Cultivate for free by sacrificing a green creature, a green non-token creature. And that's scary. I mean,
that's awesome.
Ramp says hi. I drew 2 elves. Oop, I got to Cultivate. Like,
right.
Damn. I know. And they wrote that they said they tested this quite a bit. And they said that this is good, but not too good. And I'm damn sure it's good. Card seems fantastic.
Yeah, this is the only sorcery of the Flare cycle, and all of them are interesting. The white one is an Angel's Grace. The red one is a Misdirection.
It's
a fork. You're right, it's a fork. The blue one is Cancel. The black one is sort of a edict of like sacrifice your biggest thing edict. And Flare of Cultivation, you're right, is very scary, particularly because green has probably the best 1-drop non-token creatures that you're okay to get rid of. In the best case scenario, you've got Veteran Explorer, which wants to die actively, and when it does, it gives you more lands. So that with this is really good. But even with just a Llanowar Elf, that's turn 2, cast a 3-drop, and get a Flare of Cultivation. So you could theoretically go 3 mana, hard cast Flare, and then also
Flare.
Pitch cast Flare. Yeah. Very powerful card. I would be shocked if this weren't a Commander staple, given how popular Cultivate and Kodama's Reach are in Commander. But B, could theoretically get there with the plethora of good 1-drop green creatures that exist.
Yeah, I think this could be 60 card playable. I think it's just a matter of like what decks are trying to ramp up that fast, or even maybe need different colors of mana, right? Because you can go get a mountain and a swamp or something or whatever, right? To fill out your John stuff to try to go off on turn 4, 5, 6, whatever the case is. So it could be, honestly. It may be one of those ones that you're just hard casting it, but it gives you the option of getting ahead. So it'd be very cool to see how this type of card gets used.
Like, let's note here, it doesn't say an untapped non-token green creature.
Right.
Turn 1 elves, turn 2, play a 3-drop, and then sack the elf to go get a free Cultivate. And then next turn, you're at 5 mana guaranteed right there, plus the whatever 3-drop you just played. Like, okay, that sounds fantastic. So it's on the radar. It's very exciting. And so, yeah, the whole set is looking really, really dope. I'm looking forward to talking about a spoiled card. I'm not going to spoil it, but there's a spoiled card that's very important. We'll probably talk about it next week by the time everything gets spoiled.
Can I rant for like 1 minute?
Okay.
Yeah, people that are calling this Commander Masters, shut up. Yeah, like because here, and I mean this it kind of playfully, but like, at what point would a set look like that was not giving cards to Commander?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, literally everything is going to make cards for a Commander at this. Like, I know people say it's Commander focused, but everything is. Like, literally every card is a Commander card. Yeah. Like, people said this about Modern Horizons 1. They said about Modern Horizons 2. And where were the biggest impacts? On Modern from those sets, not to Commander. Right? And it's probably going to be the same thing here.
And it can make Commander players very happy. Modern Horizons 2 sold insane. Modern Horizons 2 had like 8 reprintings or something stupid. Like, it printed infinite of that, and it was the best-selling set of all time until Lord of the Rings. So, like, it's good, and people like it. And, like, good cards are going to go in Commander decks just like they're going to go in Modern decks. And I think the only sort of egregious part of it, I felt, is making the Commander decks but it's not
Yeah,
legal.
absolutely.
None of the commander cards are legal on Modern. I think that's a little too far.
Sure.
I mean, it felt very much like have your cake and eat it because, they're clearly not going to be for Modern. And you're like,
but
they're
as it pertains to the main set, I think that even just the 9 cards we've talked about, those are not commander cards. Those are constructed 60
Oh,
card
they could
cards.
definitely be played in 60 cards. Yeah,
they could be, but they could be commander cards, but they are definitely those are 60 card
But I
cards.
tell people were saying the same thing about Modern Horizons 2, and where did we see all the impacts? Right? It was all the elementals, it was all the crazy stuff that was going on. Just like, and then we're talking about, oh, it changed Modern too much, and it messed up the format, or even though that was supposedly going to be a Commander Horizons or whatever they were trying to call it, right? Like, come on, that's not what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, and they try to kind of explain it in like we didn't want to limit ourselves or some silliness. And I'm like, I'm sure you didn't. Anyway, that is Modern Horizons 3. It is hot fire, and we'll see more of it next week. As we move on to the first pick to gather the Townsfolk, thanks to our sponsor, Mana Traders. Use the code MagicMikes_8N48 November 4 for 10% off your subscription to Mana Traders. Tell them we sent you. We appreciate them sponsoring the show. I want to talk real fast here about, I'm a very entrenched player. I'm certainly the whales, or one of the whales as you would describe them, in that I pour a fairly decent chunk of money into Arena every year. Luckily, due to what I do, I can write some of that stuff off, which is nice, so it's not a big deal. But they came out with not only the bundles that you can buy for Modern Horizons 3, which look super rad, they also came out with the Enemy Fetchlands Anthology. The Enemy Fetchlands are not in Modern Horizons 3, but they wanted to get them on the client because they're not on the client yet. They're the final 5 of the set that needs to be completed. Mm-hmm. And for 8,000 gems or 40,000 gold, you can get 4 copies of all of them. You can get 20 rares just like that. That is, as some people noted, a bit of a higher rate than you would pay sort of otherwise or whatever. And or you could just do what I did, which is I just happened to have 16 rare wild cards and I made all of them at Marsh Flats. So I have all of them I would be using immediately. So it's great, that you have a literally 100% free-to-play option to get the Fetchlands, whether you get them all at once or whether you craft them one at a time if you play Brawl or something, for example. Or you can be like, look, screw it. I don't want to buy a bunch of packs to get wild cards and hope. You're not going to get them out of packs otherwise. And so you just bite the bullet and then you have all your Fetchlands. But these are only for players who play Timeless, who play the format where you can play whatever the hell you want when you're playing with Mana Drains and Necropotents. Which I do, and I love, and it's awesome.
40k gold isn't a crazy amount either.
It's not.
It's a big number, but that's something most people can get in the better part of a month, even if you're just doing the dailies or whatever, and that's it. Not even getting your 15 wins or any of that stuff, right?
Right.
If you're doing all the bonus things, that could be somewhere around 3 weeks-ish, 20 days or so.
Yeah, 40k gold is 4 drafts.
Yes, it's 10,000 gold per draft.
Yeah. For every Fetchland?
For all enemy Fetchlands.
For all the enemy Fetchlands? Yeah, that's
the thing too, that you're getting 4 of all of them.
Right.
Yeah. That's actually pretty cool. Yeah, I don't mind that. Is it a little high? Yes, but it's also a special item for a very small portion of the players that are specifically playing that format, that want those cards. That also allows them a path to where they don't have to go do all the other things to get these that they want and start deck building. And I'm okay with that.
And, I assure you, it feels real good to play Scalding Tarn now that we finally have it.
I bet.
playing my turn 1, pay 3 life, Steam Vents, Ragavan, go. That's just good, clean living. That's all that is.
Also, Soren, he started out looking kind of... He's got his emo, soft, young kid look or whatever on these things like that. What's going on?
He's got, it's a hard knock life. All right.
Yeah. Soren is also the new Soren is a 2-mana 1/4 lifelink. That thing is crazy.
Yeah. With Extort, just
with Extort, yeah.
BT dubs. Okay, card's a little silly, and they all look really cool, and they all should be cool. You don't want to make any of those cards crappy. Which is nice. But yeah, so for my fellow Timeless players, we're eating good. And man, it's going to get so much better in like 3 weeks. Oh my God, maybe 4 weeks now. But yeah, I'm very excited. Before we move on here to Gather the Townsfolk, just one more reminder, use the promo code MAGICMICS to get 5% off your next order at CoolStuffInc.com. Support the show, help us keep on doing what we be doing. All right, let's move on here to them Desperate Ravings. There was a really cool thread that, of course, is now deleted, damn it. It was a really interesting thread that Ryan Pancoast had written about AI in artwork. And the long and short of it was, to not try and put any words in your mouth, but the long and short of it was essentially that there are ways that AI can, like, draw you things, but you can draw just as fast as it can, just as fast as you can type in the prompt. And its drawings may not be any more useful to you than your own drawings that you can do faster than it can. So, like, it doesn't matter if it's fully rendered. If it's a bad image, it's a bad image you're not going to use to start with. So, like, you're either fighting with the computer, the AI, to try to get it, or you could just do your own thing, which you have already been doing as a magic artist, for example, and just keep refining that process and getting better at that versus trying to make AI fill some weird hole or whatever. And I know there's some artists and some magic artists, despite the controversy, that have been trying to use some AI tools to see if it can help make their work go faster, better, and so on. And I've not seen it improve much, and I've seen it cause way more controversy than problems that it solves.
Dude, I'll tell you though, like even experiment. I think I mentioned it a couple weeks ago that we were gonna put together a D&D thing. So I just like, okay, let me go play around with AI to see if I can make a simple avatar of my character to put on my character sheet. And even that was like, even breaking down the thing. I wasted so much time just trying to get the exact prompt, and then still it couldn't make like the right skin tone, and it couldn't make the right type of shield, and then when it did, like the hand was sticking through the shield or whatever, just like all these. It's like you're right. At some points, the artists could have spent their day just doing their first sketches, renders, whatever, down to maybe being able to just fill color the next day, as opposed to spending 6 or 8 hours just trying to get the prompt exactly right to get what you want in the right pose or whatever.
Yeah. We've talked about how stupid and dumb AI is a lot on this show for a variety of reasons. Iterative AI. Obviously, it has its places in, places that are more mechanical and less creative. And this is just another example of that. You're going to get no arguments from us here that iterative AI has any place in game design or Magic the Gathering.
Like, let it help write your frequently asked questions. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like AI at this point is like 20 years ago for Google. People could Google better than you could. That's how I got a job in IT for 10 years. I could just Google better than most people. You can, talk to AI, write prompts, try to get it to help you solve problems. A lot of times for me, as I've said before, stuff like spreadsheets, help me write a formula that does X and Y thing. It's great at that. Let it do
and
that.
if you're on X, I don't know if this works anymore, but if you're on any social media, just Kibler Google.
Just write it in there and be like,
hey. Just tweet a question. Be like, hey, does anyone have the answer to this?
Or if you think you're right about something, tell people that this is the truth and you'll get corrected just like that.
That's the other one.
Yeah, AI's tough, man. Like, because I get, like you're saying, there are uses for it that are good, but then there's other times, like right now, even the way the laws are written with art, you don't actually own anything after it's done.
Right.
So, like, even if you used it to do a job or do something, like, anybody can use it at that point. Like, you made a thing that you don't even own the rights to.
Right. So, well, the other thing about iterative AI that just came out this week was that it has a surprisingly horrific environmental impact.
Oh yeah, it's awful.
Which is crazy, which I didn't even think about. So anyway,
because it takes all that much more energy to power all of that, AI prompting, whatever. So let's go from that and other silly nonsense to more silly nonsense. Someone showed up to play Commander with God. Checklist deck.
I am in love.
I've never seen it. It is the wildest, craziest.
Oh my God.
When you have to positively troll the hell out of everyone you're playing with, I've never seen. It's a thing of beauty.
This is so like, gorgeous.
It's like a symphony.
I look at that as like when I see a bad movie that, like, I get it. I get why people are going to enjoy this.
That's
But
amazing.
sorry, you're not getting my time.
Oh man,
Like,
this belongs in the Louvre, man. This is beautiful.
I understand. I agree. On principle, I think it's awesome. Somebody shows up to my table with it, I'm just going to excuse myself from the table. Like I'm not reaching across the table to remember what every card is. And
no, they have a stack. They said it in one of the follow-up tweets that they have a stack, and you can see it in the lower left-hand corner.
Yeah,
they have all of the real cards.
And when
Okay.
they,
You don't
when
have
they play
to
that
remember
card,
anything.
they'll
Yeah,
put the
then
real
that's
one out
fine.
there.
Yeah.
No,
Then we can do that.
Man, this is amazing.
This is some chef's kiss, man. I can't handle it. It's
I love
ridiculous. Put the link there in the chat if you guys want to see it. It's in the show notes.
I want to build this now.
Oh my god, isn't it brilliant?
Is there a list?
I don't know.
I'm sure if you asked, they'd have.
If you asked very nicely, I'm sure
I'm
they did for you.
in love. This is my next commander deck.
Oh, it's incredible.
This is the coolest thing. Emmett, I need to buy. Emmett, are you listening to me? Emmett, I need to buy every checklist card.
Everyone.
So if you have any of those, just pull them aside. All right. My roommate's on the case.
Oh my god. All right. So that was silly. Let's move on
That's
here.
amazing.
Turn the corner to the finisher. Now, Amy the Amazonian got some traction this week on Twitter, pitching a smash or pass panel at MC Vegas, where the audience will propose magic cards for the panelists to pass judgment on. I'm not going to ask you to out yourselves here, so instead, if you were the arbiter of said panel, what magic cards would you propose for discussion, Reuben?
This is a question for our age, and I need to take this with the seriousness that it deserves. My first Magic crush is still the original red mana planeswalker, Jaya Ballard. But I don't want your time spiral, skin tight cat women suit take, because we all know the answer to that one. No, I want your 5-drop Dominaria, to this day my arena avatar, Lady Jaya. Because if you can't handle me at my terrible mythic from Dominaria, you don't deserve me at my constructed all-star.
I get you. You want some Gilf Jaya. That's what you want.
You loved that card so much.
I did. Remember? I was so high on that card being good, and it was not.
PowrDragn.
All right. With Bloomborough coming around the corner, I think it's time we have a heart-to-heart about furries, which I think most furries I've met have actually been pretty cool, by the way.
They are.
Personas, yeah.
But more specifically, I want to propose a very problematic and somewhat worrying thought here. Under all those twigs, is Brushwag hot? Like, both physically and temperature-wise. Just saying.
We might find out in
It's a good
Bloomborough.
thought.
Now,
You get that many twigs together, you're going to start a fire.
whoa. Obviously, the go-to answers are the Apocalypse Common Smash and anything with pass in the name. But we're definitely overlooking the all-star for this category, which honestly should be the name of the segment. Instead of smash or pass, which side of the double-face card would you play? Shatter Skull smashing or Shatter Skull the hammer pass?
I didn't even realize those were both on opposite sides of the coin.
Yeah,
That's pretty
when
good.
I was doing research for this joke and I saw that, I was
Wow.
like, that's it. That's the answer to, that's the joke.
You got to give me the dad
Yep.
joke.
That's pretty good.
That's what I'm here to do. And that ends another live episode of Magic Minds. Thanks for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, PowrDragn.
Hey, good to be here as always. And don't forget, go use your code over at Magic Mike's. Save yourself 5%.
That's right.
Or at
Cultivation.com.
CSI. Use code Magic Mike's. There you go. That's what I'm trying to say.
Exactly. Thank you, Reuben.
Hey, y'all, thanks for hanging out. It really helps when you guys hang out with us. Oh, I should find someone to raid, huh?
You should definitely find
Yeah, let me
someone to
go
raid.
do that while Evan reads the outro.
While I read that outro, we move here to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsor, Mana Traders, my co-host, PowrDragn, and Reuben Bressler. You guys for watching and listening. I hope you support us at patreon.com/magicmics. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us on our exclusive member Discord, live on twitch.tv at Magic Mics, live or taped on our YouTube. Follow us on Twitter or TikTok at Magic Mics Cast, or join us here next week, same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mics. Good night, everybody.